When Jesus comes down, I wanna see his race. I'm not a racist, I'm just amazed on everything that took place in ancient times. I love to catch up with him, keep talking, keep walking, non-stopping, door to door, keep knocking. My nigga Rick Tunes, me too, geographical. And while I move on, I'll be reached too. In my soul, see why we been through the metropolis. It's our dream, nobody stopping us. So I'm my own crib, my own sheet. One last beat, last drop, I tell you we gon' win. This is the last drop. The last stop.
Great, welcome to another episode of Power Table with myself, AZ, and Ben. Thanks so much again for having me on this. I still think it's an awesome concept. I think today's topic is one that's really going to rub a few people up the wrong way, but it's meant to. It's meant to be provocative. And it's about being average. And in fact, we're titling it, Being Average is Not an Option. So I think straight away, let's start it like, what is your definition of average?
My definition of average is common, ordinary, but if you look it up in a dictionary, it means midpoint, the center. And if you look at it, the midpoint of anything is halfway, right? So if we were to take 100%, the middle of 100% or half of 100% is 50. So if you're average, you're 1% away from failure.
Yeah. I think that's a very powerful way to describe it. But for me, it's a little bit of a difficult one because, you look at the majority of people. 65% of people in any given time are going to be average. That talks to normal distribution where the majority sit around the midpoint, I suppose. And so it's difficult because most people are going to be normally and quite well-functioning average people. Just in life in general. And actually only the top sort of 1% of people is going to be exceptional. It's going to be sort of an Albert Einstein or a Thomas Edison or a Bill Gates or a Steve Jobs, So that one for me is very difficult. But I think it's about what you personally want to achieve in life that makes you average or not, ultimately.
The problem is that with average, we made it normal to be average because most of the people, as you said, 65%, have settled for the situation that they are in instead of creating the situation that they want to live in.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, one of the biggest traits of an average person, so an average but bad average, I suppose, person is they tend to talk a lot. They're all talk, no game. Just in general. Those people are always like...
Procrastination, we make it a normal thing to procrastinate, to fail. They say it's okay to fail. It's not okay to fail.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the other traits I think of average people is that they waste time. So they're the kind of people who are like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it next week, instead of executing, being about the now. They're the kind of people that when you call them up and say, hey, let's go for a seminar on Saturday or whatever, they'll be like, no, I'm busy. And then when you ask them on Monday morning what they did, I just sat and I watched a bit of TV.
For sure, yeah.
Average.
I think average is that most people want to fit in the society. You don't want to be marked as a freak or some weirdo. And that's another thing why people want to be average, but as you say, it's up to you what you want to make of your life, because when you're average, you ignore your obsessions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What you want, what are your obsessions? It's your deepest desires, what you want. You're always saying, I want that, but you don't get it.
Yeah.
And because you don't get it, it's gonna haunt you, right? You're always gonna think about it. You're always going to be bitter about it because you didn't chase it.
Absolutely.
Because it's your obsession. You always think about it.
Average people don't do. They're not executors. So average people are always those people who are like, oh, I had that idea in 1920 to build the computer. Oh, I had that idea first. Oh, I thought about that. I just didn't do it. Yeah. And that's the difference between exceptional people who execute, who actually are like, I'm going to build this light bulb till it becomes a light bulb, or I'm going to build this machine till it becomes a computer, or I'm going to develop the iPhone, etc. It's exactly what you're saying. An average person has all these ideas, possibly, who knows, but they never execute. Average people are not doers, they are talkers. And also average people live in the past. don't you find that average people are always talking about the past, what they did in the past and how great they were in the past, and it's actually just their circumstance that has landed them here and now.
For
But
sure.
they're always talking about the past, and that's their focus. They're not forward looking and sort of goal driven and I'm going forward and I'm going to look into the future
Yeah.
and do. But they're always like, the past. you know.
And the truth is, what you did doesn't matter if you're still alive, because you can still do more.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So long as there's breath in your body,
For sure. You can still do more.
you can still achieve your dreams. You
Yeah.
can still do more.
Yeah.
I think that's very
A few
powerful.
months back, I did 390 sales in 1 month. I don't look at it as if I can't do it anymore. Now I'm looking at making 500, 800 sales.
Absolutely.
Going up, because now I never dreamt that I would do 390 sales in 1 month. So now I know that I'm capable. That means I'm also capable of doing more.
That's it.
We don't
And
push ourselves to the limit.
that's it.
Yeah.
Average people take responsibility. No.
No, they don't. take
Average people
responsibility.
don't take responsibility. Sorry.
They don't take responsibility.
That's
yeah,
it.
for
So you talk
Yeah.
about pushing yourself, getting to the next goal because you are responsible for your success.
Yeah.
Now, average people are like, the world happens to me. Life happens to average people. Exceptional people,
sure.
they happen to life.
Thank you. Yeah.
So what would you say some of the pros, I suppose, of being average would be in your mind?
The pros. I can only think of the cons.
I can think of a
Because-
few pros.
For me, one con is that what is this? Your mind has no limits, but because you limit yourself in your mind, you eventually limit your body, your reaction.
Yeah.
Because you have to think of something before you do it, right? And if
Yeah.
you limit your mind, then you stop doing stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's an absolute con of being average. But, for the majority of people, like I've said, you're probably going to go along your lives being fairly average, and in a good way, average in a good way. I think we've spoken about average in a bad way. But for me, one of the pros of being average is you're less susceptible to depression. If you think about all the geniuses and all the great minds of our time, the likes of your Robin Williams, phenomenal actors, but hugely depressive because they set these very high standards for themselves. You are more prone to depression. I'm not saying you'll always be depressed if you're an exceptional person. I think there's a lot of exceptional people, that 1% who function quite highly, without depression, but you are more susceptible to being harder on yourself. And I think there's some negativity that can sometimes, be taken if you are too confident. That's not an average trait. Above average people are very confident. They are very sociable.
Yeah.
But you can it almost, I think, can cross the line where you go from confident to almost attention seeking,
For sure.
where you can go, almost arrogant, and so there are, I think, some pros to being
So what I think is
fairly
that
average.
depression is inevitable for both average and exceptional people. It's how you handle it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's it.
Yeah, even the confidence. If you become overconfident, that means it's taking control of you. You don't have control.
Yeah,
That's another thing that we need to learn, to have self-control, self-discipline.
That's
You know what I mean? For whether you average or you exceptional.
yeah.
If you don't have that, then your emotions are gonna take over your thoughts. You're gonna overthink stuff.
And I agree 100% with that. I just think that when you're an exceptional person, because you put such high pressure on yourself to be that type of an achiever,
Yeah.
sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to keep that under control. I still believe 100% you should. You
Yeah.
should be able to be the captain of your universe
For
and be
sure.
able to control your emotions, etc.
Yeah.
But you are more susceptible when you're exceptional. You are. And so
Yeah.
sometimes when you're average, you're just an average person. You're an average Joe. You live your life. You do the best you can for your family, etc., etc. Making sure that the definition for you of average is also important. Think about the pass rate currently in our country, where the pass rate, I think, sits at 30%.
Yes.
You know?
And that is not average. That is very poor.
That's not even close to average.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
not even close to average.
I mean, you spoke about
Yeah.
average
They
being
just dropped the
50%,
standard.
right?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
You're right. I mean, for me, average is not even 50%. You,
Yeah.
like you said, you're 1% away from failure. That's far too close for me to
That's the
failure.
thing, yeah.
You need to build some meat into that. So if you're performing at 70, 80%, maybe
Maybe,
you're
yeah.
starting to look a little bit average.
Average, for sure.
And it's about a mentality, and it's about your mentality about what average and success and all of those great things are a definition for you, without lowering your standards to a 30%, because that for me is just, it's unacceptable. It's not even close to
I agree
average.
with you. You need to add up some meat, put it on 70, put it on 80, because your chances of failing are a bit low compared to when you're exactly on 50%.
Yeah, and average people are always broke.
You don't need to be broke.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with being broke.
Yeah.
If you are on your hustle, if you are working doggedly to achieve your dreams, to achieve your goals, so you're broke for a time.
Yeah.
The problem with average people is they're broke
I think-
throughout their lifetime.
Yeah, I think the thing about being average is that you don't know how to turn a negative thing into a positive thing.
Absolutely.
Like what you said, sometimes being broke is good. So you have to learn how to turn a negative thing into a positive thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the final thing maybe around this topic about average people is that average people are always complaining. They're the kind of people who will be unhappy in their job for 10 years, unhappy in their job, in their marriage, unhappy, but they don't execute, and it goes back to that point.
Yeah.
So I think maybe as to wrap this up is, ultimately you don't want to be average. Ultimately, if average evokes a negative connotation in your mind and then emotively you react to the word average, then don't be average. It's not an option.
It's not an option. Thank you.